In other news, the Hidalgo County Animal Shelter is full to the brim. The problem is huge. 40,000 animals pass through that shelter each year.
Yeah, that's more than any other in the state except for one in San Antonio. News Channel 5's Eddie Flores is live in Edinburgh with the story. Eddie?
The Upper Valley Humane Society serves the entire county of Hidalgo, all 13 cities. That means that every stray, every pet that gets away from his owner ends up here. That comes out to about 40,000 dogs, cats, and other animals that pass through this shelter every single year. The vast majority of those never make it out of this shelter alive, and each has 3 days to live. At first glance, you see nothing alarming about this animal shelter. It does what it's supposed to do, hold stray animals. You can't really tell what the animals are thinking other than they don't really want to be in these cages. But as you begin to walk the corridors of this facility, you begin to see the scope of the problem. Cage after cage, animal after animal. It seems to go on forever. This shelter now holds up to 600 animals at a time, and it is always full. That's because it's a never-ending cycle. The county has 6 trucks that bring in stray animals every hour of the working day. They bring in about 120 new additions to this shelter every 24 hours. But that's where the cold, hard truth comes into the picture. If 120 come in every day, that means about 120 have to go out to make room for the new. Very few actually get adopted. Most of the animals are either too sick or have behavioral problems and are not considered adoptable. So the vast majority end up in this room, on this gurney, where they are euthanized. 37,000 pass through this death chamber every year. 37,000. Of course, these animals don't know they are on a kind of death row. They have 3 days to find a new home. If they don't, they are put down. Up until 2 years ago, the animals that had to be destroyed were thrown into a furnace and burned. But we're told there were so many every day that the incinerator would often break down, and it became too expensive. So for the past 2.5 years, this is where they've been bringing the animals, the Edinburgh landfill. 2 loads a week, each load about 200 animals. Each animal is wrapped in a plastic bag, and then those plastic bags are placed into this black plastic liner. Go ahead! In just the past 2.5 years, about 100,000 animals have been buried here. If you laid out every one of these animal trenches at this landfill end to end, they would stretch to the length of 48 football fields. From everything we've showed you thus far, it would be easy to paint the people who work here at the Humane Society as the villains. But all you have to do is spend about a day here to realize that nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. These are the only people who truly care for these animals. The Humane Society relies solely on donations from the public, except for a few dollars per animal from the county. There are more volunteers who work here than there are paid employees. They do everything they can to make the animals' short stay here as pleasant as possible. First of all, each is given an individual name when they arrive. Peaches. They bathe them. They feed them. Even clean up after them. And when you take a close look at these animals, you can tell that almost all of them were one day someone's pet.
They lost the dog, how come they're not coming looking for them? And, it's pretty sad.
And it's not just dogs and cats. There are bunny rabbits, roosters, and even turtles. Each has 3 days to live before they are destroyed. Lee Guzman is the admitting animal manager for the shelter and often assists in many of the euthanizations.
For me, it's a necessary evil. This is somebody's pet. Somebody loved this animal. This was somebody's joy at one time. So, you have to have that compassion. The conditions they come in, some of them, are pretty bad, and still they have that hope in their eyes. And, to me, If they have that, I have to have that. That's why I stay.
So if the death of these animals is not the fault of these workers and volunteers, who is at fault? Fact is, it's our fault, the community of Hidalgo County. We are letting this happen. A lack of education about spaying and neutering plays a big part in this deadly equation. Also, many pets in the county have no type of identification, like a simple tag to show who they belong to and where they live. So when they get loose, well, they end up here.
Things like as simple as tagging or microchipping your pet, things that people just don't do when it costs you $7 to go down to your local pet store and put a tag on your pet. You know, it doesn't seem like a big task, but it makes all the difference in the world when your dog gets out, which is inevitable.
Still, the Humane Society tries to move forward in hopes that the community will one day wake up and realize what is happening.
Good girl. It gets at your heart, and you just hope that the community's going to help you, help you out and understand what it's going to take to help solve this problem. And I mean, that's where it is. It's the community. We need them to rally behind us and really help us make a difference.
During this piece we've just shown you, we try to show you every single animal that was at this shelter the day we were shooting. It came out to about 600. Well, of those 600, it's estimated that 560 are already dead. And there are many, many more behind me who only have 3 days to live. Reporting live from the Upper Valley Humane Society in Edinburgh, I'm Eddie Flores, News Channel 5 at 10.